Welcome to the Ag Bull Podcast. Welcome to Ag Bull Media. I'm sitting here live recorded in Nesvick at Nesvick Trading here in Nashville. Now, this youngster we're going to bring in here, there he is, Tyler Stockton. Tyler, I met you in Nashville. Welcome to the Ag Bull Podcast, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Tommy.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to look in the camera and you're down there at my laptop. I got this all messed up. But hey, this is our first show. I think we're going to do this once in a while. Real quick, number one, welcome. And two, tell us a little about yourself. You're new here on the Ag Bull Podcast.
Yeah, so I've been doing energies for 7 years now, all at Northdale. I started at the bottom, doing some billing and doing everything that to the customer, to dispatching, to sales, and now I've worked my way into a procurement manager role.
I like that. And tell us about where you grew up in the great North.
Yeah, I grew up in the big booming metropolis of Nitchie, North Dakota. Yeah, maybe 400 people there now. And now I've lived in Grand Forks now for seven and a half years.
Now, if I remember from a past episode, young Marcus Hughes said there's a heck of a pizza place up in Nitchie. Is that correct?
Just north of Nitchie in Altona, Manitoba, called Pizza Haven.
Ooh, that's a long way to travel for a slice. Might be tombstone for this cat. Okay.
That's all right.
Who do you work for? What do you do? The stage is yours. We'll go full screen on young Tyler.
Yeah, work for Northdale Oil. It's been a company we've been around since 1967, so 58 years. Family owned, run by Scott and Missy Reck. Scott's dad ran the company until about the 80s. He went through some hard times there with the 80s, as a lot of companies did, and he bought the company in 92. One station, one truck. He was driving, going up to Winnipeg, Manitoba, bringing fuel back down to Moorhead, down to the cities all over the place. And he's turned it into what we have now, which is mid-30s of gas stations. Sometimes we question ourselves how much we have. We run about 30 semis on the road between propane, fuel, and diesel exhaust fluid, multiple bulk trucks for fuel and propane, retail propane, bulk propane, wholesale fuel. We have our own diesel exhaust fluid plant that's in Drayton, North Dakota. We actually bought prills from China at one point in time to make our first little bit of DEF, and now we buy slurry and blend that there. So a wide variety of services. We touch Grand Forks in roughly a 300-mile radius up into Manitoba, Western North Dakota, a little bit of South Dakota, and into Minnesota. And recently we've just started railing some diesel fuel into various states in the U.S.
That's awesome. I popped something up here. I'm gonna let me see if that's on the stage. I popped up your website. See if you can see that. Should be there. It is. What? There you go. This will kind of rehash what you just said on the physical delivering of fuel, the gas stations, the whole deal.
That looks right. That's us.
So you wear a lot of blue logos and everything else, right?
Yes, we do.
That's awesome. Okay, here's what I wanted to talk about. One, and you know, if you're a farmer or you're a rancher or anyone else, you're using this fuel. So it is impossible to farm without energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then farmers are growing corn and soybeans, and that soybean oil is becoming an energy. And that corn, as we know, 1/3 of the crop of corn gets turned into energy. Talk about what you do on a day-to-day basis. And this is an introductory video of you and me getting together. But as we start to meet more, hopefully we do this once a month, we are in by far one of the most dynamic energy markets we've been in quite a while, correct?
Yeah, since COVID, last 4 or 5 years.
Well, let's go back. So 5 years ago, we had COVID. That was wild. We traded negative crude. Thanks for bringing that up. And then Russia invaded Ukraine, and we traded $130 crude. So for our viewers and listeners, we've traded negative 39. Full disclosure, that was on the deliverable. Okay. But even the second and third month went down to $10, $11. Like real crude oil went to $10 because the earth was taking 4-6 weeks off to fix the unfixable, right?
Yeah, we hit the pause button on everything and no one knew what to do for a while.
That's a great way of putting it. We did hit the pause button. One of the strangest times of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we get out of pause from going to really low prices, from shutting things down, to just an epicenter of a place that just the middle of the world, Russia invades Ukraine. Then we take it all the way opposite from negative for $10 up to $130.
Hmm.
Have you been involved in the fuel business through all that?
Yeah, I was in a couple years before COVID, and so we saw those lows, those weird times. I mean, we were buying propane at one point in time from out west for a nickel a gallon, something like that. They were just giving it away.
Giving it away, literally?
Yeah, almost. It felt like it. Felt like we were almost robbing the place. But I mean, everything was low. We had farmers contracted out for 3 years at, a little over $1 to $1.50, something like that. So it was fun to see that kind of hang around. And as that Russia Ukraine stuff kind of took off, we had some lingering contracts from that still in there. So as crude and diesel prices started to rise up, we had a few farmers that were still paying $1.50 to maybe $2 for fuel as prices went up into $3.
That's amazing. When I think of hedging, when we talk about what I do or what you help people do in the futures and options market, back in the day, part of the reason Southwest Airlines was so successful was when crude oil prices were rising during the '08 to 10, 11 inflation. We had a commodity boom. You're too young, but in '08, 9, and 10, we had a face ripper of a commodity market, and Southwest was very hedged. Okay.
Yep.
And then other airlines said, "Oh my God, we got to model ourselves off of Southwest." So they start getting hedged at higher prices, and then crude oil fell apart. So it can go both ways, right?
Yeah.
You could explain that a little bit.
Yeah, it can go both ways. And I mean, as our strategy as a company, it's not really necessarily trying to hedge the market to make a profit one way or another. It's more of a tool that we use to present to whether it be farmers, construction companies, any kind of commercial company, any sort of end user or other wholesale companies as a way to, set a budget and kind of, we see these things coming up in the market. We can see there's turnarounds coming in refineries later this year. Hey, why don't we lock some fuel in as we see basis should kind of rise at that point in time? Expect some higher prices, especially if it's during harvest time, and lock something low and kind of fix your budget so you know what you're paying for the next year or 2 years or 3 years if it makes sense to do that.
Hmm. And you guys use like a structured product, like a particular FCM will make markets and help you hedge that risk, right? You won't click the button and do the futures and options, but you call a group and they do that for you, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we go through a third party to do it. We have all the data in front of us, and then as soon as we finish our phone call, we'll make our next phone call, send out the email, and lock everything in right there.
All righty. You're teaching me already. Now, last time you and I talked about this, we were up in Broadway having a couple White Claws or two, and it was all a little blurry in the morning, but that
Yeah.
was fun. I believe we went to the stage, and I don't remember if the music was good, but the company was good, and the boss was kind enough to buy us quite a few White Claws. Right? I kept telling him they're for my wife, but I was drinking them. With that, tell us what like last week was like. You wake up and you look at your phone and crude oil's up $9 a barrel. What's life like for you?
Yeah, it started even before we woke up, before we even went to bed. We've got a group text between a few of us here in the office, and um, we're sitting there. I believe it was Thursday night, so a couple of us got done playing softball on Thursday night, and next thing you know, we have a text, and it's, well, look at these fuel markets, and you look and looking at the heating oil futures, they were up over 10 cents at that point in time. So we knew we were in for a day in the morning, and you come in and look, and it's up 14, 15 cents, and you try to figure out what's going on. And the first thing you see is everything going on with Iran and Israel. And then you see the videos of the missiles coming down, and you realize how real everything is. And, you try to be as proactive, but when it happens overnight, guys are calling what's going on, and you tell them, but at that point, it's too late, but you can kind of protect against anything going forward because it seems like this could drag on for a bit. So protect what you can and hold on to your something.
Mm-hmm. And let's talk about. I'm gonna do lightning round here before we finish for today. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'm sitting in my office in Mayville, North Dakota, and I'm a farmer, and I buy a tanker load of fuel, that could be red diesel or it could be road grade, right?
Yep.
What's that called? Number one, number two.
Clear and dyed. Yep. On road for the clear and off road for the dyed. Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question. If you don't know it, just say you don't know. But I
Yep.
got a feeling you know. Where did that oil come from?
Which oil?
The oil that made that final fuel. If I'm in North Dakota,
Yep.
oil gets taken from the ground and then it gets refined. Start from the ground to the refinery to Northdale.
Yeah, so most of the oil up in this area, I shouldn't say most, but a good chunk. I think it depends on obviously how they buy, but a good chunk of it does come up from Canada. So when those tariffs were a thing, the crude and the tariffs, the trading became a big conversation, especially up here. We do a lot of cross border work, so that would have affected a lot of things that we do as a company. And then it comes down here, gets refined in Mandan, North Dakota has a refinery, or down in these cities, there's a couple of refineries down there, and it gets spread between the New Star pipeline and the Magellan pipeline. New Star being fed by Mandan, and the Magellan being fed by the pipelines in the cities, the refineries in the cities. So then the product gets refined in those refineries, gets sent down the line, and of course you have increased costs as it comes down the line, and eventually it gets up to us either in Grand Forks is the end of the line, so we get some decent prices here. With being the end of the line, they kind of send it here to discount it, but stops in Fargo, Moorhead, Jamestown, Alexandria, Sauk Center throughout the area all have their own terminals that we can pull out of.
Mhm. And if I said the word the rack, it's not a place you buy clothing or lingerie or anything. What is the rack when you
Yeah,
go to the rack?
the rack is the loading part of the terminal itself. So you drive by and you see all the big white tanks sitting there. I mean, those hold various products, your different grades of gasoline, your different grades of diesel fuels, some additives in there, possibly some jet fuels or some aviation fuels. But those are all fed to what they call as the rack. So you see the semis pull in, and I know here in Grand Forks there's 3 arms in this rack, and the semi will pull up. They go through their computer selections of whatever, hook up the hoses in there, open everything, and that rack is where the loading actually happens into the semi.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we put it in one of these beautiful Northdale tankers. Amazing how that got up there. It's like someone clicked a button.
Yeah, weird
Uh,
how it works.
have you spent much time at these refineries? Like, do you guys go on tours?
We haven't yet. I know Scott probably has. I've spent a little bit of time at the rack here in town, the terminal here. We have a pretty good relationship with the did have one. He just switched and got a new job, but we had a good relationship with the guys up there. They do a lot of work for us when we need some things, and they're easy to get along with.
Okay. If I say the word tariffs, how does that affect your business?
Being us, I think it affects us more than most. We do bring down a good chunk, and a good chunk being 95% of our diesel fuel does come from Canada. So when those were first a conversation, I mean, our life kind of went on hold as far as, we're calling our supplier, we're calling our customs brokers, we're calling the border. What is this affecting? What is it not affecting? What are these tariffs going to end up being? Is there anything we can do to lessen this, prevent this? Just a lot of phone calls and a lot of unknown that just kind of had to unfold over a day or two or three as our first calls to our custom brokers and the border. They're like, we don't even know what this is affecting, what the amounts are going to be. It just got announced. They hadn't been fed information yet. So we kind of had our own little pause for a few days, because if we would have pulled product from Canada and we would have got the tariffs, I mean, we're paying a quarter or more a gallon than we should have been. So we just kind of paused, put off everything you can, and function as minimalistic as possible for a few days.
So you've been through a lot. You're a young man. How long have you been involved in this business?
Going on 7 years, it'll be 7 years in August.
So you're very qualified to talk about this. You've survived COVID. You survived the Ukraine war. We now have a Israel-Iran war.
Yep.
Today is June 19th, and upon recording this episode, crude oil closed at 12 o'clock noon up $2, and the Dow Jones was down 400. They'll open again at 5 Central, and the markets are extremely volatile. Crude oil is approaching 80. The Trump administration had promised lower fuel prices, drill, baby, drill. Where is all this drill, baby, drill?
I don't know where it's at. We've been waiting for it for a while. I think part of it too, you look across everywhere. We're at the moment not able to even pull some stuff from Canada. They're two of their biggest refineries, at least from the guys we pull from. They had some issues. They've been down for a month, and they're not exporting anything to the U.S. So I think these refineries down here have a lot of excess product, and you can see that in the basis in the area. I know there's a lot of places that have a negative basis or a very low basis. I'm talking 10, 15 cents below where they normally are this time of year. So even though we see all these prices keep rising, that basis is staying low. So relatively good buy in theory as compared to where it could be should there be a shortage of product, which is a good thing they don't have a shortage of product. But um, there's a lot of room for that basis to come up to where it normally is, and yeah, they should start drilling. There's some action kind of happening out west, so we've heard from some guys out there.
That'd
But
be Williston, etc.
yeah, yep, Western North Dakota out in the basin there, and we're waiting for it to pick up, but we haven't heard too much on it.
Yeah. Real quick before we wrap up, I'd like to do this once a month with you, if that's okay.
Yeah,
And for people listening, some people will be watching this on YouTube. If you're listening, you're probably on Apple or Spotify or another device. Of course, we got to ask people to click like and subscribe. We'd love you to click on all our social medias, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You can get a hold of the good folks over at Northdale Oil. But the basis, I know what that means. Like if I'm in Mayville, North Dakota, and corn at the Board of Trade's trading $4.50, and they have a minus 50-cent basis where you get $4 for your corn. Basis in what you're talking about, you say that word so loosely as if everyone understands it. Explain in your world a negative basis and a positive basis.
Yeah, so what that basis trades against is heating oil futures, and heating oil will be the benchmark. And a lot of places right now, the average is typically somewhere between 15 to 18, maybe 20 cents positive. So we'll take round numbers. If heating oil was $2.50, then our price at the rack, if it was a 15-cent positive basis, will be $2.65. And right now we're seeing in some places as little as a negative 5-cent basis. So take that same $2.50 heating oil, you're looking at $2.45 from the rack for us to pick it up.
And then the difference is what you charge on top of that, and that's your margin, and that's how you guys make money, correct?
Yeah, a little bit of margin, cover our freight costs to get it there and put it in your tank. That's about it.
I mean, it'd be no different than the milkman.
Little bigger truck. Well, no, they make milk trucks just as big, but a little bit different delivery, but same process.
Right. I like it. All right. Today we had Tyler Stockton on from Northdale. We threw this together. We said, let's do something. We got to get you. You've been wanting to do this for a while, and I wanted to do it in studio with you in Mayville, but this software works pretty good, and we got someone clicking the buttons doing a great job. But next time we come on, how do people get a hold of you?
They can get a hold of us at the office. Call the Northdale office, 701-757-0668, or even call my cell phone. I'll put that out there, I suppose, 701-520-9056.
You're going to get all types of creepers calling you and texting you now. I'm going to text you
right
at 1 in the morning. Was I going to tell you? Next time we'll have that ready for you on a pop-up, and bring some subjects. We want to keep educating people. You know, a lot of people can talk about corn futures, bean futures, but you cannot run a farm without energy, and you are in the energy business. So with that, I want to thank you. As a first timer, you did well, and you think we can drag Marcus on possibly, and maybe even the boss man, right?
I think we could drag them both on. You know, Marcus's dad is a banker, so he's got banker hours today out in a golf tournament, and Scott's out playing in Charleston, South Carolina at the moment, but he's visiting his son in the Marines, so I won't give him too hard of a time, but we'll get them both on here.
Well, we thank his son for serving. Okay, thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Tommy.
All right, Tommy Grisafi, Agbo Media Agbo Podcast, coming to you, recorded here from the Nesvick Trading Studios here in Nashville, Tennessee. Young Tyler Stockton, I met him in Nashville. He's a fine young man. And with that, we will close the show. We hit end recording, and we'll see you all next time.